World War One, also known as the Great War, was a devastating conflict that engulfed Europe and, well, spread to other parts of the world from 1914 to 1918. It was a war unlike any other, marked by unprecedented levels of violence, technological advancements, and, profound global consequences. This war shattered empires, redrew national borders, and left an indelible mark on the 20th century. The war's outbreak in August 1914 sent shockwaves across the globe. What began as a seemingly localized conflict in the Balkans quickly escalated into a full-blown war, drawing in the major European powers and their colonies. Millions of soldiers were mobilized, and the world braced itself for a conflict of unimaginable scale. The road to World War I was paved with a complex web of political, economic, and military tensions. A key factor was the rise of nationalism, a fervent sense of national pride, and a desire for unity and independence. This was particularly strong in the Balkans, a region often referred to as the powder keg of Europe due to its ethnic and religious diversity. Another major contributing factor was the intense rivalry among the great powers: Great Britain, France, Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Russia. These nations engaged in a dangerous arms race, building up their military forces and forming alliances that frankly heightened tensions. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, by a Serbian nationalist in Sarajevo on June 28, 1914, provided the spark that ignited the tinderbox of European tensions. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand triggered a chain reaction of diplomatic maneuvers and ultimatums. Austria-Hungary, backed by Germany, issued an ultimatum to Serbia demanding satisfaction for the assassination. When Serbia failed to meet all the demands, Austria-Hungary declared war on July 28, 1914. Within days, the complex system of alliances drew the other great powers into the conflict. Germany and Austria-Hungary, along with the Ottoman Empire and later Bulgaria, formed the Central Powers. Facing them were the Allied powers led by France, Russia, and Great Britain. Italy initially joined the Central Powers, but later switched sides to the Allies. The United States, initially neutral, joined the war on the side of the Allies in 1917, tipping the balance of power. World War I, introduced a new and truly terrifying form of warfare: trench warfare. On the Western Front, a line of trenches actually stretched for hundreds of miles, all the way from the North Sea down to Switzerland. Soldiers on both sides, they endured unimaginable conditions in these muddy, rat-infested trenches. They faced constant bombardment from artillery, machine guns, and poison gas. Not to mention the ever-present threat of disease and psychological trauma. Life in the trenches was, honestly, a grueling test of human endurance. Soldiers spent days, even weeks, in these cramped and unsanitary conditions, often under constant enemy fire. And, the psychological toll of trench warfare was simply immense. Many soldiers suffered from what was then called shell shock, now known as post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, because of the constant stress and the horrors they witnessed. The Western Front became, synonymous with brutal, large-scale battles of attrition, where each side really just tried to wear down the other through relentless attacks and counterattacks. The Battle of Verdun, fought in 1916, became a symbol of the war's utter futility. Over 10 months of fighting, French and German forces suffered hundreds of thousands of casualties, all for minimal territorial gains. Other key battles on the Western Front included the Battle of the Somme in 1916, the Battle of Passchendaele in 1917, and the German Spring Offensive in 1918. The Eastern Front, while perhaps less well known, was equally devastating. Here, vast armies clashed across a much more fluid battlefield, and that resulted in massive casualties. By 1918, after years of bloody conflict, both sides were frankly exhausted. The entry of the United States into the war on the side of the Allies in 1917 provided a much-needed boost to the Allied war effort. A series of Allied offensives in 1918, along with dwindling morale and resources among the Central Powers, turned the tide of the war decisively in favor of the Allies. On November 11, 1918, at 11 o'clock in the morning, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, an armistice agreement was signed between the Allies and Germany in a railway carriage in Compiègne, France. The guns finally fell silent, bringing an end to the hostilities. The world, honestly, had endured over 4 years of unimaginable carnage. The First World War had a profound and lasting impact on the world, you know. It led to the collapse of several empires: the Ottoman Empire, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the German Empire, and the Russian Empire. And it really redrew the map of Europe. New nations emerged and old ones were reshaped. The war also had far-reaching social, economic, and technological consequences. It accelerated technological advancements, especially in weaponry, communication, and medicine. It also led to significant social changes, including increased roles for women in the workforce and in society as a whole. The Treaty of Versailles, which was signed in 1919, officially ended the war, but imposed harsh penalties on Germany. This, unfortunately, contributed to the rise of resentment and instability in Europe, and ultimately set the stage for another global conflict, World War II.